Hi, I'm Andrea,
I'm Jim.
and welcome to the first episode of our new podcast and YouTube channel called While We Are Working. We are not at work.
Yes, Sheila from HR, please note we're not at work.
This podcast will be a podcast where we will review the most culturally relevant movies of like the last century, according to very knowledgeable Reddit users who have told us that these are the most culturally relevant movies. So, the first one we're going to start with is
La La Land.
La La Land. Jim, one more time. Please tell us how you pronounce this movie.
It's La La Land.
Let's start there on the fact that Jim thinks this movie is called La La Land. It is really called La La Land, and shockingly, neither of us had seen it until this week, which is October of 2024.
Yeah.
Apparently, it was a big hit in 2016.
Apparently, it was. Everyone seems to think everyone thinks it's a great. I think the one thing I want to convey is I know a lot of people put time, effort, and energy to creating any content. So I'm so appreciative from that perspective of people's time, effort, and all the people, whether or not you as an individual like it. I think it's important to recognize that a lot of people put hard time into it and they created something that resonated with a lot of people. May not always necessarily resonate with you, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be, but
I think that's a very nice way to avoid anyone disliking you.
That's what it's all about. Please don't hate me because I didn't like your show.
Maybe this podcast should be titled "Please Don't Hate Me Because I Did Not Like Your Show."
Well, there's some shows I'm sure that in this list that I've seen that I know I will like. I may have seen them previously. So
and we will link the list to this podcast so you can see, we'll put it in the show notes so you can see what list we're referring to, because we only have like 150 more movies to watch.
We have no lives, apparently.
But we started with La La Land. Now you have me saying it. We started with La La Land.
La La Land.
And we should also note that we are not experts on cinema. However, we are two people who appreciate good movies.
I think it's important that we clarify we are two people. We're not two, canines. We're not two aliens.
We're two people who appreciate a good film, and our time is very important to us. So if it's not a good film, we feel cheated.
Yeah,
and we want to make sure that your time is also not wasted.
For sure.
So, Jim, we have not talked about this movie together yet on purpose. We watched it separately, and then we decided we'd come together to share our thoughts for the first time. So, do you want me to how about I just start with reading you what my list of notes?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. And then we can go through them.
Yeah.
Okay, and see if you agree or disagree.
Yep.
Okay, my first note is that there really is no spark.
No spark. Definitely not. Like I think I anticipated it or I wanted it. I was waiting for it and it never came.
And I don't think Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, I don't know. The chemistry wasn't there for me.
Yeah. And I kind of wanted it. I kind of was like hoping for something. It just didn't feel right in a sense. But I also felt like I think what it felt like it was starting out to be like was almost like some of the older ones that you've seen where there's like a lot of sort of like a story of a romance and a thing. And it just felt weird. It didn't feel authentic.
And that could lead me to my second note, which is, what decade is this? The dressing has me confused.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it kind of felt like we were, she's driving a Prius. They've got cell phones.
Right. But then it felt like it was like, is this the 50s, the 60s? Like where was it going? And then, because I don't know, it gave me, like, especially the opening scene, I kind of had this vibe of, I'm trying to think of it, but it was more like, you know how like In the Heights had like a lot of really great excitement and whatnot. And that's what I was anticipating, but it felt flat. And then I felt like, it just felt like really weird. Like, what era are we in? I'm confused.
It felt like they didn't really know.
Right. And maybe that was this intent. Maybe it was supposed to be like, he's in another world, she's in like another world, like maybe another time, maybe that they're not meant.
Maybe. Yeah. I feel like, that would totally change the ending for me because you could have two parallel universes going. But I was Very confused by that. And it went through the entire film where I was like, I feel like no one has really told me yet what decade we're in, or if these people just really like wearing vintage clothing.
Yeah, it did. It definitely didn't feel like it was one area or another.
Like even the pool party that they were at, like obviously,
yeah.
but like the view of the pool party was very like 50s,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, and I definitely thought like when they were dancing too, some of the dancing seemed a little older style. Didn't seem like it was
absolutely
updated.
was.
And it was more, but it didn't feel like, I don't know. I didn't feel like it had the right identity. It felt like it was trying to take parts from other stuff to make its identity, and it didn't really have a clear vision of what it was.
I agree. It really had me wondering the entire time why she was wearing her grandma's clothes.
Right. Yeah. And why was he so fixated on jazz, but then we just walked away from jazz, and then we came back to jazz? I don't know. I just didn't.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Well, my next note was that she looks far too much like my ex-boyfriend's current wife. So that bothered me.
I don't like this show because she reminds me of someone else that I dislike.
Note number 3 was she looks too much like Brad's wife, and that is true.
Who's his wife?
I don't want to give names off here.
Oh, you mean your friend's wife?
My ex-boyfriend's current
okay.
wife.
I was thinking Brad, but that's not Brad.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, Emma Stone looks a lot like my ex-boyfriend's current wife.
Right.
And which is interesting because I always thought she was kind of pretty.
Did you think that she looked like her previously to this?
She always reminded me of somebody, but I wasn't really sure who. But I guess kind of. But this goes into my next note of I used to really like her, but now I hate her.
I hate that she wasted my time.
Yeah. Well, no, I kind of hated her in the film. Like she was like annoying, and she just was annoying and like kind of irritating, and she reminded me of like a drama kid that you didn't like though.
Wait, now you're a bully. She's drama kids, right? She was in the band. I don't want to.
Yeah, she was in the band. She had an incident with a flute. I think I always thought my ex's wife was pretty, and then I watched this movie and I was like, oh, that's who she looks like, Emma Stone.
And then you're like,
and now because I hate Emma Stone, I don't think she's pretty anymore.
Right.
No, but I don't know if they just drew up on this, but I feel like they really focused on giving her really big eyes. So they always, the way that they filmed her was like always at a certain level where she just had these like huge eyes.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know, it bothered me. Okay, my next note. I like the way this is taken too, by the way, my writing.
Yeah.
Is Ryan Gosling talking Italian? New York?
I think it goes with the same thing. Like they're the characters, the theme of everything just not fully thought out, not fully developed in a sense.
But this also brings me to thinking of Ryan Gosling on a whole.
I mean, he's pretty to look at.
Oh, for sure. No one's faulting that.
Yeah.
But does he have an accent?
Does he?
Like I kind of feel like now thinking about it, he always kind of talks like Italian, New York.
Does he? I don't know.
Which doesn't fit with La La Land.
Right. I mean, LA has its identity to some degree, which is kind of a mixture of people. So I can see like maybe he's New York, maybe he's not, but I felt like he was going in between it. Like, you know, are you this hip, cool jazz guy, or are you this guy? Are you? I don't know. And I also take issue with the neediness of people in a sense in this, right? Like she seemed really like needing him, and then he didn't, and then all of a sudden it was like they didn't need each other and they were in their own world, and I'm like, how did we separate? Where did that go?
Well, they got success. Once you get a little success, you leave your loved ones.
Right, but it was just like we didn't have that journey. It was just like, boom, we're done. And,
I agree.
And you're here, and I'm just like, wait, what's going on? And I feel like that's the theme. Like it just seemed all disjointed. People didn't seem right.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm sure there's another Ryan Gosling movie on our list, so we will have to pay extra attention